On this episode of the podcast, I'm going to talk about more feedback, school, and also a rundown on my health. Anyway, let's get into it, everybody. Hello, folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Luke Who's Talking podcast, episode 112. Wow, 112. My goodness. Anyway. So let's get into a little bit of housekeeping first now. I will explain now, the last episode, the audio was, look, I wouldn't say I particularly have great audio all the time on the podcast, but the audio on last episode was a little bit, not quite as clean, I don't think. Now, the reason for that is because in my editing and whatever else, I deleted the audio file, and as a result, I was like, well, I'm not recording it again. Like, I've done it the one time, I'm not doing it again. Anyway, so I did a little bit of investigating, and there was audio on the camera, which, I have my interface sort of loop through the Logitech software, so the recording of the sound on, like, the audio is recorded with the video through my interface and whatever else. So I've done a bad job at explaining that, but I'm going to move on. Yes, the camera had audio on it. So I used that instead. So not quite as good as what it usually is, but yeah. So that's that. Now, also, we're going to talk about cricket results again, because I had some feedback from a disgruntled listener, the same disgruntled listener from last time, and they thought I needed to explain what a tie is and also explain that a draw isn't exciting. Because they were like, well, maybe the American listeners might think a draw's exciting, but a draw isn't. And that's actually fair enough. Because, if you're playing 5-day test cricket, 4 or 5-day test cricket, and say you play for 2 days and the next 2 days are rained out, that in that context is a draw. Or as I said, it's getting to the last day, a team might declare their innings and then, the second team has to bat again. They might only bat for, the last sort of session, like the last half or quarter of a day's play. So they're just going to be like padding it up, playing defensively in that context. So, when it gets to a situation where teams can be so far behind, they just play for a draw, that's the game can be a bit blasé in that context. So yeah, a draw is most definitely not. A draw is probably, unless it's like a team saves the game, because maybe they need to get 400 runs, that's probably going to be, say, for example, impossible, and the other team just has to bowl them out. If they scrape through with only 8 or 9 wickets down, like that, in that context, can be exciting. For a draw. Now, also a tie. Now, there has been a tie can happen. I think there has been maybe 2 in the history of Test cricket. Now, basically, a tie is, pretty self-explanatory, I think. So, just say team bats first, they get 200 runs. The second team bat, so they get 200 runs again. So, it's all even after the first innings. And then, say the first team bat again, have their second go, and, we'll just say again, they get 200 runs. So theoretically, the second batting team need to get 201 runs to win this game. And, if they are on 200 runs, they're 9 wickets down and they lose the last wicket, it's a tie. So, collaborating over the 2 innings, if the teams score the same runs, it is a tie. So that is something, I think it's happened twice in the history of Test cricket. There was one in the 80s against Australia and India, and I think Dean Jones, right, there's one for the local cricket fans, scored a double century, but that was a tie, and I think there's only been maybe one other. There's not been many at all. And also, just one last quick thing is that I had an answer to my question of, have you ever signed up to a lewd website just to try it out, or a lewd service? Because of curiosity now, I got a reply from somebody who said that they had signed up to like a sugar daddy site. And their excuse was, I mean, look, I will say this person, I don't think they're a sugar daddy. They're probably a artificial sweetener daddy, at least at this point. I mean, I guess they have sugar daddy potential. But anyway, they signed up to like a sugar daddy site just to see like what the girls' requirements, or what they were like after in a sugar daddy, which was, I'll have to say, like interesting, vaguely interesting for me to hear about, and slightly unusual. But anyway, so that's a bit more feedback, everybody. So yeah, let's go to the next segment. The next two I think are going to be pretty quick, so we'll get through them. So this week, everybody, I have restarted school. But because I'm older, I actually say that I'm studying again. You don't say you're going back to school and study again. So look, I'm sure I've talked about this on the podcast before, and it's mildly clear to some people in my life that I think, since late 2020, mid to late 2020, I've most definitely been in flux with myself. Not really doing anything. I've had a couple of sort of casual jobs, and I have done a few things, but sort of late last year, I'll say mid to late last year, I had a bit of I don't know if crisis is the right word. I feel like I'm always having a crisis, but I had a bit of a moment. I was like, well, I need to be doing something with myself. So I did a little bit of looking around, bit of research, bit of stuff, because when I was younger, I always had thought to myself, being an architect could be interesting. So I got in touch with a few, that said, I think it's 4 or 5 years at university for a degree, and that is not interesting at all. That is not appealing to me at all. And that also, at the time when I was like leaving high school and such, was also not really particularly appealing to me. So I sort of looked around. I thought, well, maybe I could be a drafts person, because it's the same but different, if I can use that terminology. So did a little bit of research, got in touch with a few places around town to do architecture and design, etc. And one of the businesses, the manager actually got back to me and was like, hey, do you want to come in for a chat? So I had to talk with them. They gave me a little bit of guidance. So I'm starting. So then I got onto one of the education providers' websites, and yeah, they had a drafting course. So I signed up to it, and it started on Tuesday, that being the 14th. And we'll see how it goes. It's only just for the year. I think it wraps up late November. So yeah, hopefully I can do it, I guess, really, and be able to take it in. But hey, look, I'll get access to AutoCAD for a year, so that's a positive. I'll get a license for AutoCAD, and also a license, I think, for Microsoft 365 as well. But there's a couple of things I'm not overly looking forward to. One being some maths, and the next is having to, for documents, reports, I'm sure there's a module where we have to do some reporting and report writing and such. So not particularly excited with those bits. Like, I have no problem with writing, but it's getting the right grammar, right, that sort of stuff. I'm not particularly great at that. So hopefully that goes all right, and no doubt next month or whatever, at some point I'll give you an update on that as well. So, yeah, let's get into the last little segment. So, recently I was at the doctor and I had a lung capacity test, and it has gone up. It has gone up, and it is nearly 90%. That is me dropping my marker. Apologies. But yeah, it's gone up to 89%, my FEV1. So that is like how much sort of air you can blow out. I mean, so how the test works is you put your statistics in the machine, so your age, your height, weight, gender, etc., and that will then calculate a predicted score for you. So I'm 89% of my predicted score, which is good because that is, according to the physio, like, oh, that's like the best, or sort of as healthy or the best it's been since 2013. Yes, 2013. And yeah, it's the best it's been for a while. So sort of in February last year, I have a result here on my phone. So in February, the 3rd of February, 2022, I was hold on, no, that's not right. 25th of February, 2022, I was 68% on the test, on the FEV1. And yeah, now it's 89% on the FEV1, which is quite, yeah, good, isn't it? 20% or so. And, you know, I've been on a new drug for not quite a year, so I most definitely think that has caused this increase. Yeah, so that's good, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, we'll wrap it up after this. Well, everybody, look, thank you very much for listening to the podcast and for watching as well. I hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll be back in a few weeks with another show for you. Yeah, hopefully maybe more talk about cricket and various scores and whatever. Probably Australia will be rolled by India in the series they're playing over there. I mean, they got steamrolled in the first game, so yeah, talk about that or something. Anyway, everybody, thank you very much for listening, and I will catch you later. Bye.